Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday evening. Right. So we are here again with another new session. Right. So this time we are going to talk about the Hacktoberfest and the GSoC 101. We are going to deep dive into that. Right. So firstly, I would like to thank you all of you for joining us. I hope you all are doing well and staying safe at your home though. Right. So today we have a very amazing personality with us. Those who are going to talk about the stock and the Hacktoberfest, right? And this session is specifically organized by our Zubi famous exponent influencer, Piyush Sharma. So, like, before we proceed further, I would like to invite both of them. And today we have speaker Jaideep Prasad with us. He is a SD Internet Grad, ex-GO. He cracked Google Summer of Code twice in 2019 and 2020 as well, where he's an open source exploiter, Fuchsia, and the AOSSIE. Right. So these are his achievements where he's very quite interesting uh, personality with whom we are going to interact today. So that's all about from the side of Zubi and Zubi Doom. I welcome you all to this amazing session. Thank you. Now I would like to invite Piyush and Jaideep. Hi Piyush.
Thank you, yes, for the introduction. As you all
Hi
know
Jaideep.
that I'm an emerged tech influencer at Zubi. So I have expertise in blockchain, aero modeling, and career consulting. So if you have any queries or doubts related to any of that of the field, you can contact me. I will be happy to help you. And then let's switch to Jaideep Prasad, our speaker. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
So now
cool.
I would like to hand over to Jaideep. Jaideep.
Yeah, so hello everybody. Welcome to our today's Hacktoberfest session where we'll be discussing about open source and we'll be diving into the world of Google Sum of Code and how to get started with it because it has been a trending term for many of the students out there even when they think about open source. The some of the terms which come into their mind are basically Hacktoberfest and Google Sum of Code. So we'll discuss about these and how to get started with into these programs right straight away and get some basics cleared about open source and how things work out there, right? So in a couple of seconds I think we'll be ready to go and start our session.
Great. So great. Thank you, Piyush, for organizing this session. And thanks to big shout out to the DSC EOC community for being a collaborator for this session, right? All those people, those who would like to know more about the DSC Academy of Technology community, all the links to the community are down mentioned down in the description. You can go and check it out. Their amazing community, which is handling by Piyush and team, right?
Yeah.
So that's from my side. Hand over to you, Thank to Jaideep. You can
Cool.
start sharing your screen, Jaideep.
Yeah, cool. So can you guys can check out my screen?
Yes, we can.
Cool, great. Cool. So, as we already know that today we'll be starting off with the Hacktoberfest intro, right? So, whenever we think about open source, as I already mentioned, some of the developer uh, events which come to our mind are basically Hacktoberfest and Google Sum of Code, right? So, starting off with Hacktoberfest. So, what is Hacktoberfest actually? So it is one of the most biggest open source developer community programs throughout the year, which is organized by DigitalOcean and GitHub, right? So it actually, helps and gets beginners into the community, into the world of open source, help them get started with their contributions, and basically, essentially, help them understand that some of the real world stuff which they would be going to do when they start their industry related work, right? Because even in today's world, as we all know, like most of the products, most of the software engineering works which companies have been doing upon open source, and people are sitting anywhere in the world and are working on them, right? So open source has become a real necessity in terms of whenever we talk about product based companies and their projects which engineers are working on, right? So open source is really an important factor for them in terms of their work ethics, right? So starting off, so as Yash and Pius already introduced me, so I won't spend a lot of time here. So currently, I'm doing my SD internship at Trell. I have worked at Geo in the past, along with Release My Ad, and I have done Google Sum of Code with Foss Asia and Aussie in the past, right? So if you want to check out my works, you can always go to my GitHub profile, which is at the rate Jaideep. You can go ahead on that and check out my works, and maybe take a few tips and tricks about how to maintain projects and how to uh, go ahead and contribute to different organizations out there, right? So that's about it. So proceeding further, so here is a short video actually by the Digital Ocean CEO himself. So he actually, I won't be playing this video. I will be sharing this link with you all guys so that you can check out the video at some time later. But essentially he talks about how Hacktoberfest has been uh, changing the community as a whole by bringing new students and new developers up to the forefront, who are getting started with open source through this amazing program and actually getting ahead in their own careers and finding it pretty useful through this program, right? So that's what he essentially has tried to say here about the importance of Hacktoberfest. So you can always check out this video. I'll be sharing the link towards the end of the session, right? So now proceeding further, so whenever students think about open source, or even uh, whenever you think about maybe Hacktoberfest or Google Sum of Code, the general term which comes to mind is GitHub, right? Like we always like try to make a general thought about open source, that whenever something is has to deal with open source, it has to be upon GitHub, right? So that's a general way of thinking students develop, right? But what is actually this GitHub, and what does it deals with actually, right? So before proceeding to GitHub, so what GitHub is actually, in terms of in talking in terms of local machinery, we have something called Git, which is nothing but a version controlling system, right? So you can have a project of which history you can maintain in terms of a repository, right? Like where you might have worked on a project something in the past 30 days, and you don't necessarily remember the first commit which you had made, right? So what Git does is actually maintains that entire record of whatever changes you have made in the past, or uh, whatever you have been doing recently. If you want to check out the a particular change what you which might have caused some error, so that you can revert it and fix it, maybe you don't necessarily need to remember everything. So Git is an excellent system like that, which actually helps you to keep track of all those changes and go ahead with your work freely, right? So without anything holding you back, you can simply make changes, and that it's there, it's logged in your Git, and you can come back to it anytime and revert it or maybe fix it, right? So that's something about the version controlling system which Git provides. And talking about GitHub, so GitHub is nothing but a web-based Git repository hosting service, right? So it's nothing but just a simple web UI interface of the same Git uh, process which we mentioned in terms of local machinery, but it's just that the GitHub is online. So as a fact, it is that you can use Git even offline. Like suppose you don't have a internet connection, but you want to maintain a Git repository of your project, and where you get to see your entire commit history, whatever you have done in the past. So you can, you of course, go ahead and use Git in your local machines. But if you're talking about online stuff, we have GitHub, which provides you the web-based hosting service of that same Git service, right? So that's the basic idea or concept behind GitHub, right? So it's nothing but a web user interface for the same version controlling system which Git provides you in terms of local machinery, right? Right. So now, talking now that we have known about what GitHub is actually, so how do we actually work in open source and how things actually work out there, like how will we understand what to do first and what things should be coming next and then after, right? So there is a this wonderful actually documentation which is officially provided by GitHub. So I'll quickly open that link up so that you guys can also take a view. So here is actually a pretty great way understanding of how things actually work in the open source community and what things you need to do first and what things you need to follow, right? So first so before beginning into this flow, so here our first step which they mention is creating a branch. But honestly, in terms of my experience as well, so what we do actually in open source, suppose there is a parent repository, like suppose some organization, suppose Google has a Google is the organization and it has a repository of Google Chrome. So the project is Google Chrome and they have a repository of it, right? So suppose you want to make some changes there, right? So how will you do it? So what are the steps, right? So that is what we are here to learn, right? So what we actually do here is, so we first make a fork of that project into under our own profiles, right? So the Google Chrome project will have its copy under Google organization, but you want to have a clone of that same project under your own profile so that you can basically go ahead and make your changes which you want, right? So what you actually do here is you fork that project. So in GitHub we have a button called fork. So let me just quickly show you how that looks. So here is a dummy repository of mine. So suppose you want to make some changes into this project. So what you will do is simply click on this fork button and it will ask you if you want to make that copy under your own profile, and you can simply go ahead and click on it and it will GitHub will take care of everything and it will automatically make a copy of this same project under your own profile so that you can go ahead and make changes from there, right? So now that you know the first step, you have made a fork of that particular project, right? And now you are free to go ahead and make your changes. So what you do here is you next create a branch, right? So the next step is basically creating a branch. So by default, whenever you create any repository or even if you have forked a repository, the default branch which GitHub provides you is the master branch, right? But essentially talking about open source contributions, we always try to keep everything separate in different branches with proper naming conventions, right? So what you need to do is create a different branch with some proper name. Suppose you want to fix some bug, so you can probably name that branch bug fix. And once you create that branch, you are free to go ahead and make your changes, right? Because you will be needing that new branch when you try to create a pull request to that actual repository, right? So now that you are onto your new branch and you are ready to make your changes, right? So you can proceed to the further step, right? But let me just quickly show you how creating a branch actually looks like in terms of GitHub UI. So here, as you see, here is this drop down menu. So once you click on this drop down menu, you can essentially select any existing different branch from here. And as well as if you don't have any other branches, you can simply type in some branch name and you can create that branch through this simple button, and GitHub will again take care of everything and create that branch for you so that you can go ahead and make your changes, right? So that's a bit about creating a new branch. So once you are done with that, you have created a new branch, you are free to go ahead and follow the next steps, right? So essentially the next steps are adding commits. So what are commits essentially? So basically whenever you actually make a change, and in layman terms we call that, whenever we make a change we actually save it, right? So in terms of GitHub or Git, basically what the term used here is commit. So whenever you will make a change, it can be like something new, or even you can maybe edit one existing line of code or something, but you need to save it, right? So what you do is you simply commit it, and that change will be permanently logged in your Git repository history books, right? So that you can refer to that particular commit anytime in the future, right? So that is something about commit. So now that you are on the commit step, so what you need to do, that you have already created a branch. Now you open some particular file of the repository where you want to make your changes, so that you can fix some particular bug. So once you have opened that file, you go to some line number, say 45, and make your change, or even maybe add some lines of code so that it works properly. So over and all, everything, you have made your change and now you're ready to commit it. So GitHub actually provides you a very, intriguing commit button, so which is very easy to understand for beginners as well. So once you have made the change, there is a commit button. So once you're done with the change and you would like to save it, you will have to do nothing, but just simply click on the commit button with the commit message, right? Suppose you have fixed some bug, you will write fixed this and this bug, and you will click on the commit button, right? It will automatically save your commit, your changes into the history books of your branch, right? So now that you have committed your change, and it's stored in your new branch which you had created, right? So that change is where but only on your forked copy, right? Because in the forked copy only you created a new branch and you added those commits. Whatever fixes or changes you did are there on your branch of your cloned copy, which you have under your own profile name, right? Now what you need to do next is basically open a pull request. Now that you've fixed a bug, or maybe you have made the necessary change required, you can go ahead and open up a pull request, right? So even before a pull request, now again comes from my experience that before directly opening a pull request, what you actually would like to do is check out the open issues of a particular repository. Like, for suppose, for example, here I have this repository. So here we have on GitHub, we have this issues section, right? So you can simply go ahead on this issues section and check out some of the open issues which are already maybe are opened by some other developers or some other maintainers, right? So you can check out these open issues and maybe comment on these issues that you would like to work on them, or maybe try to know what the issue is actually, right? So you can you are always advised to go ahead with that first before opening a pull request, so that once a maintainer like comes across your comment, he can guide you, or even tell you that yes, you can go ahead with making a pull request, so that such and such bug is fixed, right? So they'll definitely guide you. All maintainers of different projects are there to let you know if a bug needs to be fixed in exact, or maybe a new feature needs to be added. So they'll definitely guide you, and once they give their approval, you can then next go ahead and open that pull request, right? So for opening a pull request, you just need to go to this pull request section. There you will see the new pull request button. You can simply click on this new pull request button, and there you can click on this compare across folks. So now here what you need to do here is basically understand the one simple thing, that on the right hand side is the place where you have made the change, and on the left hand side is the place where you want to get your change merged, right? So basically on the left hand side there will be the parent repository where you want your change to be merged, and on the right hand side will be your own cloned fork where you have added your commits, right? So that will essentially be on the right hand side, and the parent repository will be on the left hand side. So what you need to do is properly select these things from here. Like, you will get entire drop down, like whatever repository you want to choose, whatever branch you want to choose. Like, if you want to merge to a different branch of a repository, you can change the branch from here, and then again from the source where you have made your change, you can select that repository and you can select that branch and go ahead, and this create pull request button will be highlighted, and you can simply click on this and a new pull request will be opened up, right? So this was the flow for opening up a pull request, right? Which is essentially pretty simple and straightforward, right? Thanks to GitHub for their proper UI, even beginners can uh, understand in very simple terms how to actually open a pull request with a very basic level of understanding, right? So yeah, so that's something about opening a pull request, right? So now that you've opened a pull request for a particular issue fixed, now what you need to do is, on that very pull request, you need to start a discussion and maybe ask maintainers or administrators of that repository to review your code and maybe merge it, right? So you can, what you can do is, on the in every pull request section there is a comment thread. You can tag specific members of the organization and start a conversation, right? So you need to ask them to review your code, and if everything works fine, they can probably merge it, right? So you need to start a discussion there. So you should have a proper discussion, like before getting anything merged. Like, it should not break anything in the actual project, right? You won't want that, right? So that's something which you and the maintainers will need to discuss on that pull request thread, clear everything out. Maybe they will introduce you with some changes and request you to make those changes before they can actually merge your fix, right? So what you need to do here there is, you need to follow their guidance and whatever they say, because they are actually experienced and know about their own projects, right? So you need to follow their guidance and make those changes, and again ask for their final approval. So once they're happy with your changed code, they're happy with your work, they'll simply approve your pull request and go ahead with the next steps, right? Which can be merging your code into the original code base, right? So so now that this step is done, so let's go ahead to onto the next step, right? So the next step is basically nothing but the deploy step. So now this particular step is actually nothing to deal with the contributors, right? So this is essentially on the part of maintainers or administrators. So what they actually do here is, on various repositories, they keep automated testing enabled, right? So suppose you might have often seen, whenever you create a pull request, some automatic random tests start running, and they actually give you a result whether your code actually breaks anything in the original product or not. So if those checks are green, so basically even the maintainers also have a cushion that, okay, the person who is contributing hasn't broken anything, and this code can be merged, right? So once that automated testing gives a green signal, the maintainers also get that extra level of cushion before merging your code, right? So once that step is done, so again this step is nothing related to you, it's up to the maintainers, but still you need to take a look at this, because if these tests fail, that means uh, there is something which you have made that is causing a breakage of some particular feature in the code, right? So you need to again check out those logs, and again refix the bug which we are trying to fix, and uh, make sure that it doesn't breaks anything in the actual product, right? Because you won't want anything breaking to go into production, right? So that is something about the deploy step. So if they all these tests give you a green signal, and uh, it shows you that your code is ready to be merged into the actual product. So maintainers are also happy with your code quality, and the bug which you were fixing, you have got it reviewed and they have approved your code. So now they can go ahead to the next steps, right? So the final step is pretty much the merging step, right? So again this step is nothing on your part, it is up to the maintenance part. You can always tag them up that since a particular pull request is approved and all the tests have also passed, they can go ahead and merge your pull request into the original code base. So yeah, so that's the very final step of, in terms of the GitHub flow which you need to follow whenever you do open source contributions to any project, right? So this is a pretty universal flow. so which works in almost any organization around the world, right? So that, and also essentially this is pretty straightforward and simple, right, with extreme logical points, right? So so whenever you go out there and look to contribute to any project of any organization, you should try to follow this all the steps simultaneously, and then go ahead to get your code merged into the actual product, right? So that is something about the GitHub flow which we discussed here, right? So make sure you keep these points remember in your mind. I'll share this, but you can take a screenshot of this link maybe, but I'll try to share it with you guys as well, right? So that's about the GitHub flow, and till now we have pretty much covered up the essentially basics of open source, right? Cool. So now your task would be to actually, always try to, keep these topics under your control. Always try to contribute to different organizations, and uh, have this basic basics always cleared, and pretty much without forgetting. Always try to, do that never-ending research and learning, right? Because even now and then, uh, there are upgrades everywhere, right? So you always would like to, keep in touch whatever is going on in the community, right? So always try to keep that in mind, and always practice wherever, whatever thing you're doing, right? This is related to any domain related skills as well, right? So yeah, so that is basically your introduction to open source and how things actually work about open source, right? So yeah, so that is your basic understanding of it. Now coming to Hacktoberfest, right? So what Hacktoberfest, as we already discussed what Hacktoberfest is. So what you essentially need to do for Hacktoberfest is basically you need to go to this particular website, which is hacktoberfest.digitalocean.com. So this is a pretty cool looking website. So what you need to do here is essentially click on the start hacking button and get yourself logged in. So you will be, so you no need to worry here, you will be automatically logged in through your GitHub profiles. So once you're logged in, you will see your uh, progress, and even here, as you can see in the home page, you will get to you will be able to see all these different projects wherein you can make some contributions to, right? So what is the fact here is that if you complete 4 pull requests which are properly merged and are valid uh, between October 1 and October 31, you will get some swags from DigitalOcean and GitHub, right? So that is pretty exciting, right, for newcomers even. So yeah, so that is the basic idea about about Hacktoberfest, right? So you can choose any of your project, any active project from here, right? So what whenever you choose a project, you should all so they have introduced this new update in their systems, that you should make sure that the repository has got this Hacktoberfest topic on their homepage, right? And whatever issues you are trying to solve has got a Hacktoberfest label to it, right? So if a repository has both of these things, then you can always go ahead to, making that contribution, making that pull request, right? So what this website will do is actually, whenever you log in, it will show you the progress, cause it actually tracks your GitHub profile, right? So whatever number of pull requests you make to any organization or any project, it will keep track of all that, and will let you know if you have completed 4 pull requests, and you will get official mail from DigitalOcean about, filling your shipping details for, so that they can send you over these swags, right? So that's pretty exciting. So you can always go ahead and uh, register here and get started with your open source journey from Hacktoberfest 2020, right? So that's something about Hacktoberfest 2020. So now talking about our next segment, which is Google Sum of Code. And even before starting with Google Sum of Code, what I would like to say is, don't just do open source only for the sake of this cool programs, right? Like even Hacktoberfest comes once in a year. So this is essentially, has been introduced for beginners so that they can take part into open source with some excitement in their minds, and go ahead and learn something which they never have learned before, right? So so that was the basic idea for introduction of these programs, right? Hacktoberfest, say, uh, right? So that is something which is the basic idea behind Oktoberfest, is getting beginners into the open source world. So don't just do it for the sake of these swags and everything. Just try to gain knowledge about open source so that you can, actually utilize it in your careers when you, because it's a pretty much damn fact that you will be needing knowledge of open source whenever you go into industry, or maybe even in some product based company where they work on some product uh, through GitHub or GitLab, right? So that is something about open source and Hacktoberfest which you should have known, right? So now that is done. So moving forward with our next segment, which is nothing but Google Sum of Code, right? So I won't be discussing too detail about Google Sum of Code, right? Because actually, what Google Sum of Code is, it's basically a program of uh, actual students, or from all over the world. Actually, they select some top 16% students through some proposals, right? So what it is, that Google had launched this program in some early years to, and even this program was launched with the idea in mind that they wanted to promote open source, right, through different projects and organizations. So you can always check I can share you the official link of the program, right? So here is the official website for Google Sum of Code, so you can check out these archives, right? So what these archives do is, actually, you can check out all the organizations which had taken part in Google Sum of Code last year, or maybe the years before it. So you can check out these organizations, whatever projects they have or they have had, and whatever interests you can definitely get in touch with those organizations. So what are the basic steps to uh, go ahead and maybe make a strong name for yourself, or maybe give yourself a proper chance to get selected for Google Sum of Code, right? So since you know about this organization, like you have checked from the past archives, so what you need to do here is, every organization has got their own mailing list, right? For suppose, for example, this particular organization, you will see in this particular page they have got this IRC channel. So this is basically nothing but the official chat wherein developers of this organization actually talk, right? So what you need to do is go ahead and join this channel, and maybe ask for some basic guidance about how you can go ahead and get started with your work in the particular organization, right?
Hello, everyone. So, might be my sincere apologies. Might be there are some internet views. That's why I think Jaideep got disconnected, right? So he's coming back. He's joining back, right? We are informing him. We will definitely going to complete the session, right? So till then, just stay with us. If you have any queries, you can write down in the comment section. I'm here to help you out with that or any queries regarding the Hacktoberfest or something, right? So till then, you can answer your queries in the comment. You can ask your queries in the section. Definitely, we will answer. Just a minute. Till then, Jaideep is joining back again. We are going to get into so, right, Jaideep mentioned about some of the few things regarding the Hacktoberfest, and he was mentioning about the GSoC as well, right? So, Hacktoberfest is not basically for swags. I truly say, right, nowadays actually I'm seeing that a lot of people actually have just going into the swag thing, just into the just have, uh, doing Hacktoberfest, participating in the Hacktoberfest just because of the swags. But it's not actually like that. It's mainly helping out you and motivate to you to make your life into the open source world, right? Where you will get swags, that's the side thing, right? But main motive is to bring some motivation in yourself that you can contribute to the open source project. That's the main motivation, right? So do that. I think Jaideep joined back again. Let me- Jaideep, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, yeah. I think there was some network issue. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So thank you for joining back again. You can share your screen. I will adjust it. Right.
Yeah, I think I've started sharing. Yeah. Yeah, cool, cool. So now, resuming on that part. So suppose you have selected some particular organization and you want to check out their projects, right? So what you need to do there is there you will get to see this particular mailing list. Even for some particular organization, there will be email ID given, on which you can mail administrators of that particular organization and ask more info about their ongoing projects and how you can contribute to that project, right? So for your first step will be essentially to use this mailing list. You get in touch with the developers already who are working on in that organization, right? You will get a basic idea about how things work there. And always on this particular page, even you can check out the projects which this organization offers, right? So even for entire details, you can go ahead and click on this view project section, which will essentially lead you to their GitHub profile, right, of that organization. And you can uh, check out all the projects which they currently have, and maybe choose something which interests you and is of your own domain, right? So that is something about these organizations, right? Which you can check out from this archive, right? So always, so your very first step will be to go ahead and check out these archives, and whatever project in whatever organization interests you in the first place, and then going ahead and checking out their projects. So what next you need to do is, once you have chosen some particular project which interests you, right, you need to go ahead on its GitHub repository. You need to check out all the open issues it has, right? So once you are on that particular page, you need to choose some of the issues which you want to work on or maybe fix. So you need to start a discussion on the issue thread, as we already discussed in the GitHub flow which we talked about. So that's the fact, right? So the flow remains the same everywhere, like the GitHub flow which we just understood some time before. So that flow remains universal, and it's the same as in case of every program, you can say, or every organization, you can say, right? Be it Hacktoberfest or be it GSoC, right? So what you need to do here is, there is start a discussion on that issue thread, what that issue actually signifies, what needs to be fixed there, right? So that administrators will definitely help you out. So they will guide you what that issue is, and where you can find code based related to that issue, so that you can go ahead and follow the next steps, where you fork that project, make a branch, and go ahead, add your commits related to that fix, and then make that pull request of your, right. So that those are the very essential steps which you need to do to basically contribute to a project, right. So 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 that those steps you should never forget, and those are the building blocks which may lead you into this great program, which you might think, right. So go ahead and do that. You talk about any issue, you make sure that whatever change you are thinking about in your mind, it's uh, in relation to the same thoughts of the administrators or the maintainers, right. So once they confirm you, you can go ahead, make changes locally in your own copy of that project. And once you're done with that, you can commit those changes and make that pull request to that project, right. So you make that pull request, you ask those maintainers to review your code. So if they are happy with your code, they will essentially merge it. So that's it basically. So whatever needs to be done for GSoC is maintain this good healthy relationships with those administrators. And how will you develop those relationships is that by contributing frequently, right. Like, it's not that you contribute today and again you come back after say 15 to 20 days and again start looking for some basic issue, easy issue, and then you again do some contributions. It's not like that. You solve all kinds of issues, right. Why is it needed that even the administrators are human beings, right. So they will judge you on the basis of your work, right. So they will see that whatever work you have done in the past for a project, right. So if they see that, yes, you are a person who has been working for the say past 1 or 2 months and have been contributing extensively into their projects, and the actual know-how about how that project works, where what the code base signifies, where we can you can find some particular feature, everything, right, about that project. So essentially you give yourself a much greater chance for getting selected, right. So even if your proposal is not that great, suppose you have applied with a proposal whenever this timeline opens up for the applications, right, for GSoC, you have applied, and even if your proposal is not that great, but since on the basis of your past work and work ethics and the relationships which you have made with the uh, administrators, right. So that actually gives you a great chance to to get selected. And so that the maintainers even know that, yes, if they select you, they can guide you on some correct path so that you can do justice to the project, right. So they need to have that belief in you, right. So how can you make them believe you is by basically nothing but just contributing extensively and make them know that you are very much interested in that project, and you want to contribute to it for the better, right. So so that's it essentially. Like, always try to keep those conversations pretty smooth, and always talk with developers in the community through those mailing lists which we just saw, which can be a chat room even, or maybe through some Google Mail uh, channel, right. So always try to communicate with the developers in the community, right. So that's something which you can always do, so that you give yourself a greater chance in terms of getting selected for the prestigious Google Sum of Code, which you might think, right. Always try to follow the basics and develop good relations with admins, and you will surely get it through into Google Sum of Code, right. So that was it about Google Sum of Code, and how you get started with Google Sum of Code, like, right. So it's basically nothing but just another program of open source. So what you need to do is essentially follow the basics and get that interest generated for a particular project, right. So once you have it, maintainers or mentors won't be having a problem to select you for uh, any season of Google Sum of Code, right. So essentially that will be it for today's session. I'll take up questions right now, right? So, as ending on with the quote of Bill Gates, right? So, open source has already been a phenomenon, and it will be, uh, a phenomenon for quite a lot of time, we can say, right? So, and certainly great things will be done in the open source world, right? So that's it, guys. So you can always go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn, and even email me, or even check out my Twitter profiles, and my GitHub profile is always there. You can always go ahead and check it out. So if you guys have any question, I'll be definitely be happy to help you out, and you can always post your questions in the comments, or else well, we are good to go. And all the best to all of you guys.
Great. Thank you so much, Jadi, for this an amazing session on complete insights about the what we call Hacktoberfest and the GSoC, right? So it was really insightful, and thank you for inspiring and motivating the students to participate in the Hacktoberfest and to contribute into the open source, not just for swags, at least if they are contributing. And I would suggest from my side as well, those who are contributing, if you are not going with the swags, you can also this year Hacktoberfest give you the option to donate a tree. That means you can, instead of getting a T-shirt, you can donate a tree to plant it, right? So you can do that as well. Do a open source contribution and add something value to the environment as well. You can do both at the same time with just a small single step towards the open source world, right? So, Jaideep, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Great. So these are the few things. So now we are going to take some Q&A session, right? We are going to take some questions from the comments, right? And going to give a shout out to all those people, those who are asking the questions, right?
Yep.
So first question we have from Pratik, right? Great. You can see here on the screen that he's asking. So basically, we just have to focus on the project of our interest to increase our chances of getting into the GSoC, or like what? So what's your take on this?
Yes, yes, Pratik. So what basically is, so even in terms of a beginner, so if you think you have got expertise of some certain domain, and you think you can go ahead and make some good progress in an official project of some company or organization. So now if you think you have that, so what you just need to do is whatever you mentioned here in your comment. So you need to generate more interest into that project, and make the maintainers believe you that yes, you are someone who they can believe while looking on to your proposal when you apply, so that you give yourself a much greater chance that they see that yes, this particular guy has worked for the past 1 or 2 months onto their project, and has contributed extensively, and has made good work in there, right? You have fixed a lot of bugs, maybe you have added new features, right? So they look at those things, and even if your proposal is not that great, or isn't not so up to the mark, they judge you on the basis of your past work and ethics, and they definitely give you a higher chance in terms of anybody else who hasn't really contributed that much to their projects, right? So yes, in terms of GSoC, you always need to generate that interest for a particular project and contribute extensively to that project, and develop good relations with the maintainers and administrators out there, right?
Great. Sounds really cool thing, right? So if other people have any queries, feel free to ask them into the comment section. We have Jaideep who will answer all the queries, right? So till then, if someone is not asking the question, we are not. If someone is not asking the question from the okay, great. Uh, Welcome, Pratik. We are happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much as well for joining us on this Sunday evening, right? And yeah, Jaideep. So, what any like apart from this, like my personal question that apart from this session, like whatever the points you have included in your presentation, apart from that, like anything else which you would like to add on something else, like which participants can take care of while applying to the GSoC and to the some yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So my some of my advices will be that if you are suppose doing GSoC for the first time, like since I've done twice, so but when I started up, like I was trying to do my first GSoC, so always try to contribute early. Like the applications open up, I think in the month of February or after that, but don't wait for the extreme deadline that okay there is you will start contributing or start looking into projects just before the application period, and then you are thinking that you will get selected into GSoC. It's not like that. Always try to start contributing early, maybe from the month of November or December, right? Because it takes time to even understand some project, right? So give yourself that cushion, like start early. You take your time to understand that project, where is the code for some certain features, so that you can look into it directly, right? So you give yourself that time so that you generate that experience over that project, right? So once you are good with that, you can definitely solve issues in some say few minutes of time, right? So if you are experienced with that project and you know about that code base, you have learned about it, you will have a greater chance about whenever you are contributing or whenever you are resolving issues in terms of pull request, right?
So here's another question we have from Sudev Vishwas. He's asking that, so if I'm willing to get into GSoC, so that means I have to work 2 or 3 months on some projects, so my experience will grow.
Yes, so suppose you have selected some project and which you want to give your full effort, and you know that that particular organization will is participating in Google Sum of Code. So yes, you if you are a beginner and you don't have any contacts in that organization, so you need to give yourself that time, right? You need to give yourself that time so that you get to know about that project and start talking with the developers in the community of that organization, so that they can know you, you can know them, so that mutual relationship always helps you out in terms of getting selected while they are reviewing your applications, right? So yes, so if you are doing it for the first time and you don't have say proper connections or pre-existing connections in any organization, always try to give yourself that time so that you gain some experience on a project, and then you can dive ahead and contribute extensively into that project.
Great. So now we have another question from Surya Teja. He's asking what are the basic skills required to enter before GSoC 2021?
Yes, Surya, you see, if you are talking about domain, like first of all, you need to choose any domain, be it app development, Android, or maybe machine learning, web development, right? So you need to choose a domain first of all for yourself, and then start looking for projects on related to that. Uh, Under any organization which is going to take part in Google Sum of Code, right? So apart from the domain skills, what you need to know is get yourselves cleared with the basics of VCS, right? Like say Git and GitHub. So if you have some basic knowledge and basics cleared about that, about open source in general, so you can always consider yourself that you can go ahead, because even when I started out, I wasn't like very much extremely advanced and had super expertise in open source, right? So you always learn and grow, right? So always so there isn't anything like too advanced needed that yes you need to have that to get into GSub. Always try to get your basics cleared and have those knowledge in you. And always, and yes, even for doing GSub you need to have a domain specified for you, right? Because otherwise how will you proceed? So choose that domain wisely, and then go ahead and search for projects related to that and get your open source basics cleared in terms of Git and GitHub, right? So once you're done with that, you're good to go.
Great. So now we have another question from Pratik that he's asking, is GSoC limited to college students or anyone can apply?
So no, actually, so up till now, what Google have been doing is that you need to be pursuing some degree, right? So it can be master's degree even, or even it can be PhD, right? And of course it can be a bachelor's degree, right? So you need to be a student of under some particular certain institution, right? Because you need to actually provide a letter of recommendation, or right, that you actually are studying under some organization whenever when you apply. So they look into that whenever when they are seeing that you are eligible or not. But in the recent talks which I have heard about, right, from the next years, what they will be doing is that they will open it up more for students from different parts, right? Like, say, they don't need to be a part of a certain institution, but they can be, maybe doing some coding boot camps from outside, right? Or maybe some diploma, but still they can take part in Google Sum of Code, right? So they are trying to open it up, widen it up, so that students don't get affected and they can freely take part, right? But yes, up till now, it is limited to students, but the degree is universal. Like, you can be doing any kind of degree, right? So that's not an issue.
Great. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. We are available. Thank you so much, Sudev, from the side of whole Zubi team, and thank you. We are happy to answer your questions. And yeah, so great. If anybody have some questions, you can ask. Right, we are waiting. Mhm. So it was truly an amazing session, Jaideep. Thank you for some putting some insight full and putting lights on some of the hidden areas of the GSoC and the Hacktoberfest, like how the people
Yeah,
actually
sure.
can do that, right? And here another question we got from, yeah, I think this question is we already answered. You can take it, Jaideep.
Yeah, so as I said, so if you have completed BTech, that means you are not student until unless you are planning to do masters, right? So if you have joined a institution for doing your master's degree, then again you become eligible to call yourself a student, right? So at that time you can again apply. You are eligible to apply for GSoC, right? So yes, so that's about it.
Great. So great. Thank you so much, Jaideep, for joining us on this Sunday evening, right, and taking out some time for the Zubi community and to interact with our community members, right. Uh, a big shout out to Jaideep. Those who want to get connect with him, they can connect with him on LinkedIn, and they can connect with him on Twitter as well. He already shared his profiles and all, right. And if you want to need any other help, you can put your questions in the Zubi community on Discord, on the Telegram as well. Also, big shout out to the DSCEOT community, right? You can check out their Twitter and Facebook, Instagram pages. All the links are mentioned in the description section. You can check it out over there, right? And now I would like to say thanks, Jaideep, from the participant side, from the Zubi side. Thank you, Jaideep, for joining us. We're looking forward to have more sessions with you in upcoming days.
Yeah, sure, sure, my pleasure.
Great. So now I would like to invite Piyush Sharma, who actually organized this session, and would like to, before wrapping up this session, so we would like to get to listen about his views. Hi, Piyush.
Hello, yes, it was a great to organize such a session. I think it will be helpful for all the students and newbies who are willing to do open source and try GSoC next year. So that's all from my side. And let me introduce myself. I have not introduced myself yet. So
Yeah,
I
definitely.
am a immerse tech influencer at Zubi and also a team member at Developer Student Club of Academy of Technology, which is my college. And I have also built aeroplanes, that is remote control aeroplanes, that is called which lies in the part of aero modeling. And I've been in blockchain from past 2 years almost. And I'm also been into career consulting. So if anyone have any issues or any uh, doubt regarding their career in which field in and how to crack bank companies, so they can reach out to me and I can provide them a specific path to them. And also a big shout out to Zubi community for providing me with such an opportunity to organize this event. May- Uh, I, I would suggest everyone. I would suggest everyone to join Zubi because Zubi is the thing which you need now. We are in this century. We are continuously evolving, and new technologies are coming every day. So Zubi is the place where you can get all the insights of the new technologies which are in the market and which are useful for as a student purpose and for your daily growth also. So, and being a part of Juvi, they organize almost every week a session on emerging technologies or the technologies which will be helpful for the students or for their growth in their career. So, it will be very helpful for you all people to join this community, and also the developer student community of Academy of Technology. They are, and we are also posting very frequently the post and the career advisors what you can need to grow in your career. So that's all from my side. Back to- Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Piyush, for your words. Right, as you mentioned, like in Zubi community, yes, we organize sessions on every single week on every Saturday, Sunday, right? And we are coming with some of the amazing sessions. Our team is completely working on it. We are coming up some several events on the Fang series, and we are coming with several events on some of the emerging technologies, right? So don't forget to join our community on Discord and on the Telegram. You can check out the Telegram link and the Discord link here in the banner section on your screen. You can join us right away. If you have any queries, you can drop out to me. You can drop out your messages to me. Right, whereas we recently have 6 Immertech influencers in our team. Pius is one of them, and all other people like other Immertech influencers are working on it. They are coming up with their own events on the Zubi community. So big shout out to them as well. We are having some amazing team and some amazing sessions are coming up. So stay tuned, stay with us. Till then, join Zubi community, get all the updates of emerging technologies, all the tech updates over there in the community itself. You don't need to go anywhere. Whereas we are coming up with some big announcements on our Zubi app as well. So stay tuned in the Zubi community. Thank you so much, Pius. Thank you so much, Jaideep. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us
My
today.
pleasure.
It was nice meeting you. It was nice. Bye bye. Stay safe and stay home.
Bye.
Right? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We are coming up again. Bye.
Bye.